So we're here talking with Cosmos Sunshine about the song, the Dream Song, off of his album The Way Is Clear. We thought this would be a cool song to kind of dig into and take a look at kind of the behind the making of the song. So you want to say anything about it before we start?
Yeah, it's the lead song on my new album. And yeah, I think it's one of the ones where we employed the most sort of, as we say in the biz, ear candy. There's a few old school sort of production tips, production techniques that I kind of brought in from what I learned using analog tape, and we sort of applied them into the digital realm. So we thought it would be a fun one to dig into.
Cool. So looking at this track, let's dig right in. We started with Cosmos tracked the acoustic guitar to a click. We basically overdubbed and layered this song with all that ear candy we were talking about. So let's just hear the acoustic guitar. I'm going to kind of drop in the middle of it. Basic acoustic guitar. I'm gonna come up to the beginning. You'll hear we kind of fade that acoustic guitar in to the song. And that just keeps fading in.
Which makes even more sense in the context of some of the effects that we laid on top of it.
Absolutely. So from there, I think we cut the vocals so you'd kind of have that to track to.
Yep.
So that's coming in next. We'll hear that.
It's cold in my bones, walking these roads that I've been down before. I think that I feel, but it just don't seem real. My love.
On the vocal, we have basically like a tape emulation plug, some EQ, an LA2A.
Yeah, I'm sort of an analog nerd too, so I think all of my music tends to have that sort of, not exactly retrospective, but definitely a much more earthy production approach from most of my stuff. So that those tape emulators, and we use plugins that are more like old school, like LA2A type leveling amplifiers on things. It's
yeah, and we have so this is running through the vocal. Also runs through the Bricasti M7, and then we have a couple Echo Boy plugs on it for the delays. There's a quarter eighth delay that I set up actually for the bending of light on that song, and we really dug that delay. And then there's just a slap back on there. So that was the vocal. The next, I think we ended up printing the reverb for the acoustic.
I think we once we had the basic skeleton of the song, we kind of delved right into all of the backwards stuff, and I had come up with the idea of having a backwards reverb, which is a technique that they used to achieve by literally flipping around analog tape and recording reverb sends and delays to the backwards signal and then reversing the tape, and then it is basically, instead of the effect coming after the main signal, it comes before, and it kind of rushes into it, creating this kind of psychedelic rushing kind of effect. So you hear in the intro, that's basically what's happening. The acoustic guitar is fading in more and more into focus, where what you hear most in the beginning is actually the backwards reverb signal. So we kind of like raised up the acoustic signal to the point where it was coherent in the midst of the kind of trippy reverb, backwards reverb.
Yeah, so here is that backwards reverb. And that's just the reverb. And then you hear the reverb with the acoustic. gives that vibe. We were looking to kind of get some kind of organ sound, and we ended up going with a harmonium. Let me bring in, we track that in stereo, 2 different harmonium parts. Which you can hear there, and they're kind of soaked in reverb and stereoed out. Them against that backwards reverb. Drop it back a little bit.
Kind of creates a drone across the whole track, and that and the backwards reverb really bring out that sort of dreamy aspect, which was kind of like what we talked about from the beginning.
Cool. And then I did play some harmonium that I tracked backwards, and I'm kind of just going down the track list.
Mm-hmm.
There is in the middle of the tune for the bridge. We stacked some harmonium here.
Kind of went a little crazier in the bridge, kind of layering different textures, including the wind chimes, and kind of took it even further into the dream state.
So the backwards harmonium, let me just drop these out of here. It's kind of a cool instrument to have backwards.
Really
There's this
great.
really trippy thing that happens.
Almost sounds like a calliope or something.
Yeah, exactly. Which is really cool. So against the other harmonium, this is kind of the full harmonium piece.
Yeah. Gives it a real psychedelic swirl,
So then from there, we wanted to track a backwards guitar.
Yeah.
So we flipped the song backwards.
I'm trying to remember whether we actually we did it because we flipped the song in reverse to do the backwards reverb, and I almost think that we were like, well, while we're here backwards, we might as well put down some guitars that'll be backwards guitars as well.
Yeah, probably.
I think that was done at the same time.
We probably tracked it at the same time. So that was it. So
did
Cosmos soloed to the backwards track.
Yep. I think
And
one
then
of
we
them I
flipped
played,
that.
at least one of them I played slide.
Yeah, there's let's see. We have this slide. I think they're all slide.
Right.
There's 3 different kind of takes that we combined and panned out differently, as my mic flies away, to make this one track.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As you can see here, there's kind of, if I bring this one in, you kind of get that stereo thing happening with the 2 tracks.
Yeah, and they kind of play off each other,
And yeah, so that's that. It's kind of a cool technique to solo to the backwards track, and then when you flip the guitar part or
you
solo.
used to hear it a lot in the 60s. I mean, like Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles, that's Beatles song, It's All Too Much, definitely had that stuff going on. I'm a big fan of all that stuff, so I wanted to bring in some of those techniques into more modern recording.
So if we drop back into there, we can hear that kind of whole tune happening in that spot. And then for the beginning, really, the only other thing were these chimes that you brought in, I think, from your garden, correct?
Yeah, that was actually off my back door.
Cool.
Just to give it a little extra atmosphere.
It should be, and we kind of, same thing. We faded everything in on this song.
Yeah.
So the chimes faded in as well.
Yeah.
And then they're back here as well. We put some louder ones in.
There's the...
And it's funny, I don't know. Those were muted earlier. I'd have to hear the record again. I don't know if we put are those chimes in the
beginning?
later part of the tune?
Oh, in the very end, I think. Yeah, I thought there was some as it was trailing off as well. But
yeah,
I could
maybe.
be
I don't
wrong.
think these here made the record.
Right, that could be.
Yeah. And then the only other track really was halfway. Is it on the bridge maybe? Or through the bridge, we brought in an electric bass.
Yeah. Which kind of almost just acts as a timekeeper because most of the time you're just kind of pulsing, you
Yeah.
know, eighth notes or whatever.
Yeah, it's just kind of driving along.
Yep. So, on one hand, it's pretty spare. It's not, it's not a really busy track, but there's a lot to hear.
It's definitely one of those tunes you kind of got a headphone and really kind of take everything in.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of focus on that slide guitar, and it does one thing. You can focus on, the harmonium right now is doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and then add to the fact that we kind of, in almost all the tracks, we play around with the panning quite a lot,
Yes.
just to kind of like, tickle your eardrums a little bit. And also sometimes it helps to drive the song a little bit depending on where things are moving around, can bring them into focus or put them further out.
Under this giving tree, our loss is all.
So yeah, that's kind of the track. I mean, it's really, there's not a ton of stuff going on, but the stuff that's going on is definitely super kind of cool and ear candy
Yeah.
ish.
Kind of creates a little tapestry of sound. And it was, maybe an odd decision to use it as the very first song on the album because I think conventional wisdom is that you want to start off with a bang. And since the rest of the album is kind of largely much more of a rock and roll kind of thing, I use it as a way to just sort of entice people into the record and just, draw you in instead of just kind of hit you in the face with some big rock noise, And I think it worked out pretty well. I think people, appreciate it and get it. And it was, it's a test of people's, patience or whatever, or attention span, whether or not they'll be able to really spend the time to listen. And it seems like they do, so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's kind of just the difference of making an album, an actual proper album, as to making just a collection of tunes.
Right.
Where in that case you usually do lead with this rock tune, where this being more of an old school kind of proper
Atmosphere
album
piece.
where there's a journey. It makes sense to start with a tune like this.
Yeah. You want to kind of develop an album the way you develop a song too, beginning, middle, end, kind of an inherent built-in narrative to it,
So yeah, so we're gonna leave you just kind of playing. I'm gonna play through the tune for you, and that's kind of a look inside the making of a song, a kind of an interesting song. So check out the album. The Way is Clear. I guess there is talk. We were just talking about earlier. There should be vinyl pretty soon.
Yep.
There's definitely CDs. Download it, buy the CD, and at worst case, stream it if that's what you need to do. So yeah, we'll see you next time as we look into other songs and how we kind of make them here. And here is the Dream Song.
It's cold in my bones, walking these roads that I've been down before. I think that I feel what it just just don't seem real. My love's a broken bolted door, easily bored and completely ignored, till I've got no pride anymore. So quick to replace all the dreams that I chased, I follow them now, nevermore. So I'm calling those dreams to me under this giving tree. Our loss is all that I found. So I'm calling those dreams to me. Cold in my bones, walking these roads that I've been down before. So I'm calling those dreams to me under this giving tree. Our loss is all that I found. So I'm calling those dreams to me, calling